There's so many rules in 40K, hundreds of events, and constant updates. Skip the learning curve of Warhammer and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.
Hello everyone, we are Art of War.
And we believe in creating a community where people can talk about, learn, and improve their skills at Warhammer 40K.
Our channel has live stream competitive matches of 40K, played by the best players in the world.
And we focus on teaching you how to get better at Warhammer, while also emphasizing sportsmanship and engagement with our audience.
We strive to play every faction in the game to a top level, while also using a variety of lists to show off different playstyles for every faction.
We also offer a variety of other videos such as codex reviews, faction rankings, and tactics videos.
When you join our channel, you become part of our community, where we emphasize learning and positive conversation about competitive 40K.
You get early access to our videos, sub badges, emotes, as well as rewatch those hangout and hobby sessions.
Joining our community is a great way for you to show your support for us, so we can keep making awesome videos for you and continuously expand the bounds of competitive 40K.
Ready for this.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another. It's going to be a hangout and hobby, but it's not. Guess what? Balance FAQ. Surprise.
All I have to say is, boom! Get out of the sky, flies! You dead, bro?
There's a huge amount of changes. This is apparently the first in a series, an ongoing series of quarterly balance updates that they're going to do. So quarterly balance updates. We're going to have chapter approves in between. They're going to actually try and balance this game.
Deeply excited. Deeply excited. The survey must have worked.
Honestly, we had an 8th edition. We had a really good system of big FAQs, basically every spring and fall, and then we had the chapter approved that would come out. Mm-hmm. And they did a pretty darn good job with that until Iron Hands came out and ruined the game.
Yes. Well, also, I don't think they've ever, I could be wrong, but I don't think they've ever, on a balance, like in a balance update, changed rules in the codex. They've always messed with points or brought rules down. They've never buffed rules.
It depends on what you had on, because the chapter approved itself has done that. So we've had Munistorm points, we've had chapter approved points and or rules. This is fantastic. I'm not gonna lie, guys, before we get into the actual nitty-gritty of everything that changed, I think the thing that I'm most excited about, hold on, I'll back that up. The second thing that I'm most excited about, besides shooting planes out of the sky, because everybody knows I may or may not have ranted about planes a few times in the last couple of months, just once or twice maybe. But the thing that I'm most excited about is the fact that they said they're going to do quarterly updates to this balance changes. And that is the thing that I'm most excited about, because we haven't had the armies touched enough, I think, in the last year or so, and this makes it very exciting that we're going to have a more balanced game moving forward, because even if we just make small changes every quarter, it helps. It just helps, man.
That's what I want. It's just a couple small changes here and there for things that are just obvious choices, too powerful, or they just didn't understand what the combos were going to be, and then go ahead and just start buffing things.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be big either way, just constant updates to help make the game more diverse.
And I think the way that they chose to do their updates is very positive. I have nothing bad to say about this update.
They're trying.
They're trying.
That is
That's
important.
the biggest thing.
That's all you need.
And they're making small changes to codexes. Or
That's the point, though. You can miss the mark if you're doing changes consistently. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to Punk Fox. Love it. So, but basically, if you're making small changes all the time, you don't have to hit the bullseye every time. You can just be close. You know what I mean? Because you're constantly revisiting. If we're only getting once a year type deals, then you have to actually be perfect every time. And you can't be perfect every time because the meta changes all the time. Something that was a problem right now. So when we got the nerfs for everything that was Imperial, all the Marine stuff, those were like nerfs that were needed, 6 months prior and didn't make any difference. Now, if you're getting quarterly all the time, you have that that ability to consistently be an ever-changing document.
Yeah, and I mean they would miss the mark because it's not easy to hit the mark perfectly, and then we'd have to live with it for 6 months or more.
Right.
And with their production schedule, like having to plan out a physical book with all the points in it, it means that we're stuck, fixing a meta from 6 months ago. This is fantastic. This hits the meta right now in a way that's relevant.
So, and the thing is, guys, let's talk about it before we go into the specifics. What do you guys think of the overviews? Because I love, hold on, one more love, the flyer deal. Because I think that the flyer mechanic, either had to completely change or you had to limit the flyers. That's the only ways that you were fixing that. You can't adjust the flyers, period. But what do you think about the overall, how the changes it's going to make? Because the flyer, besides, we'll just put that to the side. Points reductions. How did you feel overall? We'll go into the specifics afterwards. How do you think it's going to affect the armies that we're done here?
Well, you're not going to see 6 AdMech flyers. You're not going to see 3 Stratoraptors. Thank God. You could see Orcless slowly starting to build into 3 Wazbomb Blastajets and like 2 to 3 Dakajets, and that's not there anymore. It means that flyers are a lot more manageable because even if they're non-interactive, at least it can only be that much of your list. Like, you can't build an entirely non-interactive, entirely flyer-based strategy anymore. Thank God for that.
I mean, that was the biggest thing, is for the past couple months, as the Orc book and the AdMech book were continuing to be figured out and, basically go against each other to try and counter, you were getting a ton of lists that were dedicated to ignoring terrain, which is the main defensive mechanic of 40k. Yep. And that's indirect fire planes. They don't care what the terrain is.
It made it non-interactive. That's the thing, is they just made it on. Let's get to that super chat though, Siegs.
Yeah, we got a $5 super chat from Mr. Jason. Is the top tier still number 1 AdMech, 2 Drukhari, or do Grey Knights NIDs take over? Is the AdMech defense cohort now viable? All wonderful questions. I'm gonna wait to answer those after we go through all of the rules and give our thoughts. But I'm gonna come back to that question because it's very good.
Yeah, I think the basic takeaway there would be Drukhari was already kind of a toss up whether Drukhari were better or Grey Knights were better or Orcs are better. I think at the very least Grey Knights jumped up a couple spots, but we'll get to exactly how that's going.
Let's rock in.
I mean, I think the biggest thing about the aircraft change is that now aircraft have to be a part of your strategy. They can't be your strategy. And that's a big change.
Yeah, so universal match play rule. When mustering your army for a Strike Force game, which is the 2,000 point size games, you can only ever have 2 aircraft. This is, basically Orcs and AdMech were the 2 that were actually trying to abuse aircraft. But it's a stealth nerf to Tau, and specifically the list that Brad hates to play against with all the Remoras.
They're aircraft, aren't they?
It's 2 aircraft. It's models. It's not aircraft units. It's models,
baby.
So I cannot run 9 Remoras. These are dark days, everybody.
I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
Very sad.
You really hate to see it.
The Remora memes are no longer a thing, which is unfortunate. But I love this rule. Aircraft is just never... Whether it was 8th edition with all the Eldar flyers, 9th with the AdMech and the Orc flyers.
They've always been a problem, dude. It's always... Anytime that any flyer was good, it instantly got spammed, and it was a huge problem. And this solves so much. I've been praying at the altar of the Laughing God and of Tzeentch and Khorne, respectively, and it finally came to pass.
Yep.
This reminds me very much of the Rule of 3 in 8th edition, where it's probably just going to be a rule that exists with us for a while.
That's my guess. It's a very good safety valve because flyers as a strategy, like as a unit, are non-interactive. Non-interactivity is not good. So just having this safety valve where like, oh, you accidentally made a flyer that's just too efficient, well, you can only take 2 of them. It can only get too good.
All right, next up,
they're so good.
AdMech points, they're on page 2. We'll go through them in a second. Astra Militarum. First of all, Lehman Russ models get a 2-up armor save.
2-up, baby.
2-up. That's good.
I'm not gonna lie. Two units with 1 order. I don't think this is enough for IG to get out of the dumpster, but I think it is something. It is something. It is very, very unique. In the fact that they gave an order to 2 units at a time. I actually think that's a big deal. I think that's an underutilized thing, is move on 2 guys with 1 order is a big thing, man.
It's certainly not bad. I would say that if they extended that to the tank commander orders, we would see some really nuts stuff.
Well, you just need more. The
I wouldn't
tanks
say
need
really
a full
nuts
pack. We
stuff,
talked
but,
about
like,
this.
the iron.
I think that this helps IG, but I don't think it does a whole lot. We do have another super chat, guys. The best thing I love about this update is that GW is willing to do this sort of updates. It means we don't have to wait for CA and or a giant FAQ. 100%, brother. That's what I was saying at the beginning. Is that them doing this update and then saying that we're going to get quarterly updates is huge. That just saying that they're going to do every quarter is such a big deal. It's that for me is the biggest thing besides the Flyers, of course. Screw them, but it's such a big deal on that.
I mean, the nice thing is that you don't have to take as many officers. Although I think you always had enough officers for your army to begin with, but I don't know. It's just nice.
That's true. I actually apologize. It is everybody within 6. It's typically going to be. So you can just slam your army full. It's good.
So,
and of course, I love the fact that you guys have random nonsense in the background as
it's
usual.
always Nick. It's always Nick. Inevitably, he is walking around and yelling on his phone.
Right outside the door.
I don't understand why, but that's what we live with. But for these changes, in addition, so it's awesome that they get the tank commanders can order things like mana cores now, which
I don't know if awesome's the word I would use.
it's awesome for guard. It's awesome for guard because that's by far their best tank. Full payload mana cores. They get even better with this.
Yeah.
And then this aura, 6-inch aura of being able to do benefit from other orders. It's a nice quality of quality of life change here for them. They don't get move, which would have been the biggest deal. That would have been probably quite powerful, but they restricted that order, and so you can only benefit from some of the other ones. But hey, as damage dealers, and we saw with the Cadian update, the conscripts actually got significantly better.
Yes, conscripts got a lot better,
So
and
this helps.
It's within 6 inches of the unit that order was originally issued to. So if you're taking conscripts, you have a 30-man unit that has a 6-inch aura of activate a
Every guard squad is doing exactly what you want. So things like Vengeance for Cadia against like a big unit of pink horrors. Oh, your army is doing work against that.
I love it. You're like, IG, we don't have a great win rate, but if we see chaos, that thing's
If they see a hint of chaos, it's gone.
that thing is done. No, I just love how the guy gives an order to like a 30-man squad of conscripts, and everyone is just like, hey, have you heard? First rank fire, second rank fire.
Take aim.
So where I heard street. Yeah, I'm going with that.
Yeah, the tank commander order thing isn't necessarily the biggest deal just because most tank commanders want to give the reroll ones order to themselves. So it's fine, and it is certainly a buff. I think the Lehman Russ models to 2+ matters because you won't get chipped out as much.
Yeah.
But it's just like quality of life stuff. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it definitely helps.
It's especially good because they have a +1 save psychic power as well.
It's true. It's true. You can have a 1-up Lehman Russ.
Lehman Russ is with 1-up. It means you don't have to go for Tolerant or Talaran to get the Fire and Fade order.
Yeah.
So gives them more options. Like I said, their biggest thing is they don't have counter assault, and this doesn't help at all with that.
Hold on, move is not in the order list.
That's what I'm saying. Is they intentionally didn't put move in there because it would have been silly powerful.
Yeah, that's what's not going.
Chaos.
Chaos Space Marines. Deaths of the False Emperor, an ability you know and love. It's still unmodified, and now it is against anything, Jack.
Let's talk about the fact that let's just move on. And 2022 is going to be the year of Chaos. We're getting all the releases because we still haven't got the wound. We still haven't got the rest of the stuff. They went, you get exploding 6s. How's that work for you? I really wish I could have the rest of the stuff, guys. Can I have the rest of the rules that you promised me a year ago? No, but you get exploding 6s. That's not going to change anything. It's nice. It's what it probably should have always been, but I'm
shocked not to see an errata here with +1 wound for X, Y, and Z data sheets.
Yeah. Blake, by the way, if you've gotten your screenshot, just 3, 2, 1. All right, we're good here.
Jack's a big fan, don't worry.
Yeah.
So honestly, this is not a huge. It's a nice change for Chaos because it's not a nerf, obviously, but is it going to impact that much? The Chaos has so many problems.
Yeah, I don't think this was the problem. I just think this is something that they're going to change in the future.
This is where points
certainly,
updates would help.
So what does this actually apply to that matters? Other Chaos is very fragile. Drukhari is very... No, I'm talking about like as an enemy. Like all the tough stuff is Imperium. So if you're hitting Drukhari, do you need Death to the False Emperor? Probably not, because they're vanishing.
No, because you're already picking you're already picking stuff up. I mean, that's the thing is it's, don't get me wrong, it's helpful, but it's not as helpful as all the other things they should have already had. Like the wound. I will skip Death of the False Emperor versus everybody for +1 wound on all the 1 wound guys that should have got them a year ago. Yeah. There's a reason my Chaos is currently still on the shelf until next year.
It is a decent change. I'm a fan of it.
They left it unmodified. They could have made it modified, and then it's like...
True. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The guys that are exploding, like crazy Disco Lords, you know what I mean, with exploding on 4s and stuff, love this stuff.
World Eaters Raptors.
Heck yeah. Just get in there and start carving people up.
World Eaters Raptors. 1 wound guys that get killed in Overwatch. Got it.
Now let's talk about an actually, like, big change.
Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, all their vehicle models with the Imperial Knights or Chaos Knights faction keyword gain the following ability. The models count. This model counts as 5 models when determining control of objective marker. If it has the Titanic keyword, it instead counts as 10 models. And then on top of that, if your army has either Chaos Knights or Imperial Knights faction keyword,
if every model.
Yeah, if every model. Then all of your Armiger class and War Dog models from the army gain OBSEC.
Let me talk to you about the good word of the Imperial Knights, my guy. You can take very easily. You can take a Freeblade Lance. Every model in your army is now OBSEC because you give OBSEC to the 3 Megaras, and then all of your Armigers get OBSEC. And the big ones count as 10 models, which is shockingly hard to deal with sometimes. And the small guys count as 5, and now every single model in your army is OBSEC, and they got good. They got good.
You have to kill the knight. It's really difficult to try and contest objectives now against them.
Because it's an army that can just table you. Like, that's never been its problem, is damage output. It's always had a problem with controlling objectives, and now it has significantly less of a problem with controlling objectives. So it's going to be a force.
How do you feel, Brian?
Dude, I think this is a huge change, dude. I actually thought about, I'm not going to lie, I thought about Jack's list from New Orleans when he brought the Dennis Dead Knights to New Orleans. And I was like, man, that list is terrifying with these new rules, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, you can't contest objectives.
So, yes, it's huge, 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 huge. I think this is one of the biggest. I think this, when people were talking, I saw a chat this morning. I was looking at a couple. I decided to be less old man and check chats out. You know that people chat on the internet, by the way?
Really?
That's a thing.
Huh.
Yeah. I didn't know.
The internet, is this like the first you've heard of it, or?
I heard about the internet last year. I've really been trying to say that there's chat rooms and stuff. There's videos. People send things. It's weird. But I think that Knights become way, way, way scarier. And I think there's going to be different builds too, man. The small Knights feel really crazy with this. And just having them count as more models, dude, it's a big deal. It literally is a big deal.
It is. I've played against the Knight with the banner of whatever, Triumphant, Banner Imperium, whatever. It's the where he counts as OBSEC and he counts as 10 models. And the difference between counting as OBSEC 1 model and counting as OBSEC 10 models is massive. Massive. Like, that guy is so much harder to get off an objective than anything else in your army. And now every model in the army has it. Every big knight has it. And every small one counts as 5. Like, you can't just contest objectives away anymore. You just can't. They're going to take up enough of the space that you can't fit 10 models on there easily. And suddenly you have to kill a knight if you want to take an objective.
Dude, it changes the way you play against Knights hugely. Like, that's as soon as I looked at that, I went, oh, my standard Knight practices do not work like this. Not good.
Yeah.
It's big. I was surprised like I said, I was surprised this morning when I saw less talk about the Knights. Obviously, everybody's talking about Flyers and stuff, as well they should, because they were the devil. But this was a thing that didn't get talked about as much, and I think it's crazy. I just think that this is such a big change for Knights of all faction. I think they literally, like one of the guys said it in the thing, they jump a whole tier up in the tier list.
That would be El Kukui.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Ferguson
Reading
boy.
is hard.
Anyway, I think they're A tier now. I think they actually are, because the main way you countered them was just control objectives better and die. And now you get to still die, but you don't get to control objectives.
But you don't get to control the objectives.
They still do have the limitation of that third secondary is quite difficult because they can't pick an action one. So
I don't think they S tiered or anything. I just think that they're significantly better, because before, when you played Knights, you didn't even care if you were killing stuff. You just basically took the objectives and scored more secondaries. And you can still take the secondaries, you know what I mean? But you can't just easily take all the primary away from like you could before.
Yeah.
And significantly.
It's much harder. So I would say, in my personal opinion, they jumped from like low B tier to like low A tier. I don't think they're high A tier, but like, boy, are they low A tier now. They're just, you just win games off objectives, and now they can control objectives.
This change feels impactful. Unlike the Chaos and Astra Militarum stuff, where it makes them a bit better, but not significantly so, this is a significant buff to Knights.
Yeah, significant. It's a significant buff to Chaos Knights as well, although a lot less. You can't give the big Knights OBSEC in Chaos Knights because they don't have the correct Dreadblade trait. So it's a lot less of a buff there. In addition, Chaos Knights just tend to be weaker because of they just miswrote the codex, unfortunately. So you can't take Chaos Knight Megaras with any upgrades because they have the wrong keywords because they haven't updated in a whole year. But yeah, they wrote the codex
because screw you, Chaos.
Exactly.
Here.
They wrote the codex Chaos Knights in 8th edition. In 9th edition, they came out with the Imperial armor. In it, it has a Chaos Knights section, and every single Chaos Knight in there has the wrong keywords in order to get upgrades from the book. And it has been like a year, and they still haven't fixed it. If they do, then Chaos Knights are going to be good. But they don't. They didn't.
All right, let's move on to the Necrons. So their big change is the core keyword, which was extremely restrictive in their codex. 5 data sheets total had core, which came out around the same time as Space Marines, where we got core everywhere. They have finally added core to some of their units. So the Canoptic Acranthrites, the Reanimator, the Wraiths, Flayed Ones, Locust Destroyers, Heavy Locust Destroyers, the Ophidian Destroyers, Scorpack Destroyers, and Triarch Praetorians. Basically everything that wasn't a vehicle and not a scarab got core.
I have to say,
if you're a destroyer, yes.
This is the biggest change in this update Dataslate thing for me. Because this means bigger even than AdMech, bigger than Orcs, because I don't have to listen to Necron players talking about core ever again.
And you're going to quickly find out that core was not the problem with this book.
Yeah, exactly. Like they'll find something else to complain about. It's fine, but at least I don't have to every single Games Workshop post on Facebook. The top comment is like, "Give Necrons core," and I don't have to see that ever again. Thank God.
Well, the thing is, it still has a way to go. It's just the same way I felt about the IG on this. I think that it has a way to go, but there's a lot of different things you can now do. I mean, let's just start with "My will be done." You know what I mean? That seems better.
There's 2 rules that really matter. +1 to hit, "My will be done," and the Technomancer's ability to reanimate. So now you can reanimate a destroyer, Scorpack, whatever. It's decent on things like Wraiths now. Those are the 2 big ones. There's some other buffs from Zera, some of the more expensive characters, where Anrik here has 6
Silent King with full rerolls.
Silent King, but it takes very expensive characters to then buff these up, which means you're just losing stuff.
I'm just saying, it's still not where it needs to be, but I think that this adds a lot of flavor, a lot of things, a lot of options, telling you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I was kidding around, but I think this is a very good change. It makes the whole book just feel a lot better, because when you have a codex where nothing buffs anything, you just either fall into very cookie cutter builds where you just take the 2 units that can get buffed, or you just take a bunch of units that don't synergize with each other. Neither one of those is fun. So this is going to open things up a lot more for Necrons. Maybe if they get points drops in the future, like, they could be very good.
They need points drops.
I think that's the biggest thing, but this at least opens the codex up to feeling a lot.
It's not like the Necron Codex is the AdMech Codex, whereas there's a ton of amazing core buffs. There are some decent to mediocre core buffs. What they need is points drops, and ideally a rewrite of command protocols. But this at least helps. So it's certainly not a downside.
El Kukui, you're actually wrong. Planes don't give NIDS issues because you can ally in like an 120 point detachment of Genestealer Cult, and then you drop down a whole bunch of blips, and then planes can't go anywhere near your deployment zone, so you don't get shot turn 1. So NIDS actually, if they're correctly built, will just style on planes, because planes can't shoot them turn 1, but NIDS can shoot them back.
I love the style, not just defeat them, style. I don't just blow up planes. I style point the planes. I ride them down when they blow up like a surfboard.
I mean, the planes can still go over the blips, so bombers can fly off and bomb you. And
can they? They can go over them. They just can't end.
They cannot end them within 9 inches.
100%. That's true.
John said, and I was like, I'm right, and I was.
Okay, well, he can still get 6 blips, which can fill up most of his deployment zone.
Yeah, no, he can do
two,
it.
and then
I'm
you
just
get
saying,
Earth
bombers are
blips.
the one plane that's actually still good against Tyranids. But are you gonna overcommit to bombing?
What is 205?
I don't know what 205 is.
Yeah, let me know what you're talking about, and I will respond.
All right, and then we've got orcs here. Another.
He's talking about the GSC detachment.
Oh, I was talking about a patrol with just a Magus and a unit of acolytes. But yeah.
Cool. So heading over to orcs. When mustering an orcs army, cannot include more than one of each of the following units: the Boomdaka Snazwagon, Custom Booster Blaster, Mega Scrap Jets, Rocket Truck Squig Buggies, and the Shock Jump.
You do hate to see it. Yeah, you know, if you're in...
So now only 2 arc planes and only 1 unit of each type of buggy.
So
now, you're probably still going to see one of each,
yes,
or one of most of them.
So it probably won't change the amounts of each that were in lists. People were gravitating towards, 3 units of 1 squig buggy, 3 units of 1 scrap jet, 3 units of 1 shock jump, 3 units of 1 booster blaster, whatever. They probably won't change the amount that are in the list, but it's going to make them so much easier to kill and more unwieldy to use.
Well, it's also the thing is you got to remember that it's the combination of the planes and this, because you got to remember that originally we were seeing before everybody went to the plane spam, we were getting the buggy spams. You know what I mean? Which also felt because of all the indirect when you brought 18 squig buggies. So 18 buggies. You know what I mean? So it's a big deal of the combination of this actually means that you're not going to have this ridiculous army that doesn't care about terrain, always is able to see everything because of either indirect or planes, which are semi-indirect, basically. And I think you're going to have to see a proper orc list built.
Yeah.
So,
well, it also makes, if you want to spam buggies, it makes them so much easier to kill. Like, if all of their scrap jets have to be, in one place to shoot at one time, and then you can shoot them back and damage splashes, like a unit of eradicators will rip through orcs because they'll kill 3 buggies every turn. Things like that.
Yeah, it's definitely better for those units where they could pump a lot of high damage stuff in there.
Yeah.
And now they can just do it much more efficiently. The other thing is, I think this will push orc list towards the Speedwa rules, the Army of Renown, because you don't really want to run a ton of the other buggies, and you don't really want to run as many of the big squads. Probably 3 squig buggies and a unit of scrap jets, and then maybe single scrap, Boomdaka, single shock jump, single booster blaster. And what you do with all the other points is you go for the war bikes, the OPSEC war bikes, and you just jam all that in your opponent's face.
At least they have to be more interactive than now.
So,
especially not taking 6 planes or 5 planes.
That's probably where the list will go, and it's still going to be extremely strong.
Yes.
But there's other. I think you're going to see other orc archetypes out there that are pretty decent and just got overshadowed completely because the Speedwog was just the better build.
Skill rigs.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of things that go in, and I do agree. Boys do need a second wound. Blake is sitting at, Blake's going, waiting to see if Brad's still on the DE train. I'll talk about that as soon as we go over the points here in a second.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm glad we could have both Richard and Brad here to just watch their armies just take lumps.
All right.
It's amazing.
I'll take everybody through the admin points.
I'm already playing GK this weekend at Du Bois. Don't worry about it.
Heck yeah, me too, buddy. I'm taking Grey Knights to Warzone.
Yes. All right. You ready for this? AdMech points nerfs, which it pretty much is. Skitarii Marshal goes up 10 points. Then we've got the Manipulus, also goes up 10 base points. Heading down to Rangers, they go up 1 point each. And then the Enhanced Data Tether and the Omnispecs go up 5 points each. Then we head over to the Vanguard, same exact points increases. So that means the veteran Rangers and Vanguard are going to be 11 points with the +2. And then we've got our friendly Sakaran Infiltrators and Ruststalkers that I know and love. They went up 2 points each per model. We got the Iron Strider Ballistari, went up 10 base points. So now the twin last cannon version is 85 instead of 75 points. Sterilizer stayed the same. Cerberus Raiders went up 4 points a model, and the Data Tether went up 5.
That's a big deal, man. That's
the
biggest of the points. Yeah. I think that's the other points are totally workable. I was going to ask you how you felt about taking Cerberus Raider right now, because that's a big nerf there.
20 points is a lot. It seems like they nerfed
Let me keep going.
Yeah.
Let me keep going.
Is this
gentlemen.
not done?
No, I'm not done.
Oh.
And I'm not done. All right. They found whatever was in my list and they were nerfing it. So let's keep on going. Castellan robots were not in my list, and they were not in anybody's list. In fact, they went down 20 points a model.
20 points a model?
110 base.
Wow, they
to
sound
90.
really good now.
90 each. All right. So you might see Castellan robots, but we'll see. And then we've got finally the Flyers, the Fuselage. It went up 20 base points. So a Fuselage with chaff launchers is 170 points now, and the Stratoraptor also went up 20. So it's 180 base, 200 with the chaff launchers.
That is the point where it's like, do you really want to take it?
They're really expensive. Then on top of that, don't worry, Jack, we got some more. Here we go. Holy Orders. Logi went up to 40 points, and Artisans went up 10 from 25 to 35 points.
Man, I got that. Did you see that tear that was flowing out of my ice eggs? Man, that was so
yeah,
sad.
Clearly,
I feel
there were
so
a bunch
bad
of,
for you, buddy.
There were a bunch of players who just felt they couldn't beat me with AdMech.
I feel so bad, man. Like, right before you were just going to take them and sweep another super major, too. Like, you hate how they do it to you like that.
They really don't want to.
Yeah, you were having a tough
really don't
time.
want AdMech winning the third one. But
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best.
Underpowered.
Let's head over to Drukhari, Brad. Take us through it.
The good news, or the good news, the good news for everybody else, Succubus, 20 points up, baby.
Really makes losing, Gulliman to an 80-point model, really makes that much more palatable.
Look, man, my Drukhari were underpowered in the first place. This is really going to hurt us a lot. Witches went up 2 points. And the combination of that is the favored retinues went up a point on that. So you're actually paying more for your blood brides.
Did they? Oh, yeah, they're +3/+3 now instead of +2/+2 for the Trueborn and Blood Bride.
Exactly. So that is actually a big deal. Incubi went up 2 points apiece. So that's thing. A lot of the other stuff stayed. Kronos went up 5 points. The Talos went down 10 points. And Raiders actually lost their free Dark Lance, so they actually effectively go up 10 points if you want the Dark Lance on them.
You really do hate to see it.
Their planes went down 10 points, and the Ravager also went 10 base points.
I was just about to go to the thing on that.
You just hate to see it. I woke up this morning and I started crying and I didn't even know why. Like, inside my soul, I knew that these two armies had been nerfed, and it made me so sad.
Well, before we go on with this, we got a couple super chats, guys.
Yep. We got a $200 super chat from Mr. Fred Fortman.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Fred. You have been a longstanding champion of the channel, and we really appreciate your support. And he says,
I love everything about this.
Black Templars, Lenin versus the Blood Angels, Mr. Harpster. Loser can't be on the next tier list.
I accept the challenge, obviously, no matter the odds, which are bad for Lenin, obviously. But you are mistaking who keeps calling Black Templars the best Marine Codex. It's this man.
Also Lenin. We both are on the same page with that.
All right. We'll see.
They're better than...
I accept your challenge. I accept.
I cannot wait to see this because, honestly, Jack is going to be real sad when the Black Templars just make every save and he sees it once more.
I'm so excited to whichever one of you guys loses. And, of course, it's not going to be you, Jack, because you're on with us right now. So I always take the side of whoever's with me at the point.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks.
I can't wait to make an overlay which just has a random picture of the other person that can't go on the tier list in the corner, just sitting basically like we're putting him in the corner. He's put in the corner. Baby's been put in the corner.
But I cannot wait for this. We're going to get it on the schedule for you, Fred. Thanks so much for your super chat.
Oh, yeah.
You were a champion. Thank you.
I'm going to watch John have the same list-building crisis I had when I discovered nothing moves faster than 6 inches.
Matt O with a $5 super chat says, Jack is the avatar of all non-Drukhari AdMech players right now.
Oh, I don't know if that's true because, as I said, deeply sad about this points update. You hate to see it, right? Like, you hate to see a poor innocent guy go down like this.
We're almost at chapter proof time, Jack. You know what that means? Sanguinary Guard going up once again.
I'm not gonna lie. I did forget about the fact that Homunculus went down, Archon went up 5 points. I skipped over it so much because I was looking at all the things in my army.
You do hate seeing Kronos go up to 85 points a model.
They only went up 5. I think that I'm not gonna lie.
No, because you have to pay for the other weapon.
You have to pay for the Vortex.
What's that?
You have to pay for the Vortex now, so it's 85 if you want the upgrades that used to be 70.
Yeah, it's just, and the thing is with I think that as a Drukhari player, I think that these are perfectly. I think they bring it down. The thing is that Drukhari's biggest thing is that they had super cheap units that traded up, and pointing them up does a great job towards making that, bringing them down a little bit, bringing them everything back into equal. I love these points changes, even though I'm not a big fan of anytime my armies get touched badly.
Have you done the math on your list? How much it went up?
200 points.
200 points?
200 points, really?
He ran a lot of witches.
He did run a lot of witches.
You got to figure, I ran 15 incubi, 20 witches, the raiders going up 30 points apiece. I ran 2 succubus, that's 40 points right there. The archon 5 points. The chronos, I ran 4 chronos.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the Talos going down, I think Talos are going to actually be pretty good.
Yeah,
Talos spam is like, it's
with
pretty
-1
durable.
damage, Artisans of the Flesh against the orcs.
Yep.
Really
I've actually
good.
been working on that list right now because I've been looking at, I really do like the sets of 2, and I think that Talos going down 10 points a piece basically makes them much, much tastier for me and Artisans of Flesh.
Yeah.
Overall, I think the Drukhari changes all make a lot of sense. I don't feel like they went overboard on any of these. I don't think anything is nerfed out of existence. I think we'll still see all of that.
That's the thing is I love about what they did with these points. I don't think they pointed anything where it's unplayable. And that's what I like, because we've had points and or rules adjustments in the past where they just went, oh, this unit was a problem. Well, never play it ever again. We'll just point and rules nerf it into another dimension. And I don't think they did with this any. All of these things feel pretty decent. They basically pointed and that is true. We have been talking about this in the Drukhari Discord. It is time for the thickest Drukhari lists.
How thick?
Are we talking 9 Talos and like 4 Chronos or something stupid like that?
We
Grotesques went down too, right?
Go into the Discord, baby. The Drukhari list building has been very spicy with thick Drukhari lists.
Oh boy.
Jack
Different
likes
variations.
I don't know how I'm expected to outplay like 18 Talos / Chronos. Like,
they're just coming.
I'm gonna have to outplay them so hard. I'm just gonna put damage into them, and then they pass saves, and I cry.
All right, let me give you some context on the AdMech changes. My list from Games Workshop New Orleans went up 260 points.
You don't say.
And I wasn't running any Iron
It doesn't even count though. You're not even allowed to take that list, you cheating bastard.
I also can't
too
take
many
it.
flyers, baby.
I had 2 extra flyers.
Your list went down. Your list went down like 310 points.
Just take out 2 key units, it went down.
Yeah, you're fine. Just take those extra planes out of there. You're running the same list, baby. No big deal.
Just the same list, just down a Stratoraptor and a Fuselov.
They hit every single crucial unit here. Like AdMech did not escape the nerf bat here. Everything went up. Cerberus Raiders went up significantly. 4 points a model is a lot. Now they're the same cost as the Sulfur Hounds. So are you going to still take them? You'll probably still take some minimum units just to get up the board.
Probably
But taking
will.
the max unit at 180 points is pretty darn pricey because they're now the same cost as a Sulfur Hound unit, which puts out a heck of a lot more damage in the middle of the table. So that's at least a consideration between the two now.
Can Sulfur Hounds run away when you charge them?
No.
They can't.
No, but they have a bunch of flamers, a bunch of AP2 flamers.
That is,
I was saying,
it's pretty scary.
They just decided
That's
to
scary.
Overwatch you instead.
I mean, so the main thing when I pair into any AdMech is I look at how many Infiltrators, Rust Stalkers, and Cerberus Raiders they had. And if they have a lot, that list is scary. And if they don't have a lot, the list is manageable. Because you just control, they can't move very fast, so you just kind of control where they can see. You get to pick your engagements. But with the Infiltrators, the Rust Stalkers, and the Raiders getting nerfed, I think AdMech used to be the best combat army, and the best shooting army, and the most durable army, and all that. They are now no longer the best combat army.
Guys, for all of this,
so
by the way,
lose a lot of board control.
Because we've lost a little bit. What we're looking at right now is literally, if you go to the Warhammer community site, it is the balance changes.
Yep.
So
it's that first big article, and it's
it's the very top.
The balance data
Yep.
slate.
And then you can basically go down a little bit, and it has a download for it.
All right. I think it's time to revisit the question from earlier, which was very good.
There are a lot of people asking where Blood Angels are going to be as well with these changes.
We're not going to spend
S++,
30 minutes on
Jack.
They're the best army in the game. In fact, it's the only army in the game if you want to win.
It was a statement, Jack. It was a statement. It wasn't a question. It was a statement.
They're so good, Jack isn't bringing them to Warzone Atlanta.
I have practiced on Warzone terrain once or twice, and you can just make those boards a shooting gallery if you feel like it. So unfortunately, I think that
He's running my Grey Knights though.
I am running your Grey Knights.
Do it, Jack.
But I will almost certainly be taking Blood Angels to Austin.
All right,
almost certainly.
Let's answer this super chat. So, is the top tier still number 1 AdMech, number 2 Drukhari, and do Grey Knights or Nids take over in any of their spots? And then, is the AdMech defense cohort now viable? I'll answer the second one first. Is it viable? Do you mean winning GTs and majors? Because probably not. You have to take a bunch of trash and you can't take any Skitarii units. But if it's going in RTT and doing well with it, yes.
Yes, I think that's right. I think
custom robots aren't horrific because they can get core, so they can get a lot of buffs. They're just easy to move block and they don't do a ton of damage anymore.
Yeah, and you're not going to get shot at them. You're not going to get shot by them unless you choose to get shot by them.
Let's tie this into the other super chat that we just got from Peter here. He's curious as how much do you both feel this will affect your list, so we can tie those two questions together very easily on that.
You want to go first, Brad?
I think that the Drukhari are going to be probably they're going to fight for their spot. I think they're taking us sideways. You're going to see adjustments in the list. Myself, I've been doing a lot of hemming and hawing about what I'm going to do with the list on that. But I think that there's still everything that was good about them is still really good. You just don't get the no-brainer pick the best, cheapest stuff. You have to construct your list a little bit differently. And I think without planes, you don't have buggy spam. You don't have planes slamming down on you. So I think that Drukhari, while a point nerfed, became more powerful because you don't have their natural predator, which was all these plane and buggy lists combinations of. So I think that Drukhari are going to be slightly worse, obviously, when you get a 10% nerf, but some of the stuff went down. So I think that they take a slightly down but sideways step, and I still think they maintain they're going to be a top 3 army going forward, I feel.
I think that's probably correct. I mean, you're going to see a lot more Talos, I think. They're, I think, already a sleeper pick because you have to kind of go out of your way to include the correct attachment in order to get Talos in your list that are good. But they're pretty strong. They're hard to put away. I've bounced off a Tal. Like, I played against James Kelly, and he was taking like 6 of them, and I could not kill those things for the life of me. Like, I tried.
And the thing is like dumb stuff.
Whoa. Yes, let's see how you kill him dead with 300 fewer points, my dude.
with those plane seeks. Yeah, but I think that Drukhari, because of the fact that their worst matchups got nerfed and or don't exist, I think that Drukhari take a sideways step. They're obviously going to be less powerful because you just have less points. You know what I mean? You just have less things on the board. But I still think that army works. I'm going to adjust my army appropriately to see what it takes, what it looks like going forward, but I am going to bounce probably to Mortalis. I am going to look at the thickness. The thickness is still really, really good, and it actually gets
sickness for that thickness.
Sickness for the thickness, baby. Sickness for the sickness. But the thing is you're gonna have less stuff. But again, the fact is that your worst matchups are way worse and or don't exist. So I think that they're going to be fine. These nerfs are completely balanced. They do a good job. They bring the army down a little bit, so other things are coming, getting closer to them, I think. But the army is still very, very, very valid. So I'm not gonna lie. I love the points changes right now. I think they did a great job of not wrecking anything, but bringing things back more into line. 100%. It makes you actually take decisions now. You can think about Real Space Raiders. You're thinking about Arsons of Flesh. You're thinking about, I'm not going to lie, I'm thinking about having transport-free armies because of the fact that I think that the transports are now a little expensive. They're probably where they should be, but they're not just auto takes and spammable. So you might want to take different things. I think it's going to make it so that the Drukhari is more diverse. There's going to be different lists out there.
Didn't Venoms go down too? I believe
Venoms
they went
not.
Down.
They've always been that.
They've always
you
been
still
65?
have to pay. You still have to pay.
The extra cannon is 10 points and brings it to 75.
We got Patrick Super here, exactly what I was saying. I love it. Coming in on it. Have a look at Real Space Raiders Zone. Archon George's list he used at LGT 5-0 and came 5th. It's now 30 points down. Yeah, I mean he brought the thickness. He's down with the thickness, baby. And the thing is there's opportunities for different lists out there, and I think that these nerfs make it so you're not auto taking certain things in Drukhari, and so you'll see Drukhari look different but still perform very, very well. It's just going to be different. You're going to have more variety, and you're going to have you'll have to think a little bit more about your list besides just auto click.
I think a common theme here and we'll get to Seeks' take on AdMech. A common theme here is that a lot of armies that were being held down by these top tier armies by Drukhari. There are plenty of armies that just could not compete with Drukhari. Period. There were plenty of armies that could not compete with Orcs. There were plenty of armies that just got mollywopped by AdMech. A lot of these armies are getting new leases on life. I know, just from my perspective, Blood Angels got a lot better because their worst matchups were Orcs, and then after that, Drukhari. And both of those armies got nerfed, which just breathes new life into plenty of armies.
The Boy King sisters, man. Let's go into Matt O's because we were setting Siegs up. The $10,000 question. Does this push Mr. Siegs off AdMech and onto something else? Not many units seem to escape the nerf bat. What do you bring us over what you're thinking, Siegs? Answer that question immediately, Mr. Siegler. Be destroyed.
If Necrons had gotten points decreases with this, I probably would have tried to experiment with them.
Yeah.
But they just didn't get enough. So I probably will stick with either AdMech or I would go to Tyranids. I think Tyranids are extremely well suited for this new meta. With a lot of this stuff, the plane spam list going down, and max only 3 buggies with the -1 to hits that they have active. You're not going to do enough early, and Nids are going to overwhelm you, and they do tons and tons of damage.
Nids are incredibly good right now.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think they've been the faction that gets bumped up the most from this.
I think
Grey Knights as well.
Grey Knights are living their best life right now. They just really are. I mean, I could just take those to Austin and probably be the best list at the event.
Yeah. Now,
did Grey Knights skip up, or were they already the everyman that just played really well into everything?
I think they were S tier, and they got by a lot of that based off of matchups, because they just had good matchups into the other top armies, and now they still have good matchups into the other top armies, but the other top armies have are now 1,700 points. So
yeah, and the big thing is you can't take 3 Wasboom jets. That's the scariest thing for Grey Knights. Only 2, and it's pretty swingy with the 4-up invulns. So Grey Knights were sitting around like a 50 to 55% type of situation, maybe going towards 58 or 60 against Orcs. Now, with only 2 of the flyers guaranteed and less of the other stuff overall, it's just easier. And you have to run the bigger units if you want a lot of scrap jets. And Grey Knights have +1 damage, and they have +1 to wound that can put on the big units.
It makes it a lot easier to just pick up every scrap jet in your opponent's army, because there's 1 unit, there's 3 of them, they can't hide them.
Nope.
And so you can just say, all right, all your scrap jets are dead, now have fun.
And then AdMech, in my opinion, was the toughest matchup for Grey Knights, and they just have less stuff now. So I think AdMech lists will go in 2 directions. One is they go ahead and just drop all the pretense of combat, and they focus on the more European style, still running Ranger bricks, because 1 point, that's actually pretty reasonable. They're the same class as Fire Warriors now. You can't be mad about that.
Well,
I think that's
Tau
can, but they're mad about a lot of things.
They are.
So I think that is totally fine. I can definitely see lists still running the very shooting style and Skitarii board control variant.
Yeah.
That was popular a little early on and still very popular in Europe. Or I think you go back to what my Metallica build was, which was just, I'm going to hit you from across the table with powerful melee units, and I'm not going to run a lot of the other tricks and tools.
Yeah,
I think you have to go in either direction. I think my Mars list at New Orleans, where it was a balance between the two, the melee style, but it also had a lot of the tech shooting tools.
Yeah.
That, you just don't have the points for that anymore.
The planes, too. I think going down to 2 Stratoraptors. Do you even take Stratoraptors in that list anymore?
No.
At 200 ppm?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
It's too expensive. 400 points, almost a quarter of my list in 2 planes.
Yeah,
nah.
I don't.
I'm not gonna
Hold on. Can you say that real quick for me again? No planes in your list.
No planes, Brad. Maybe for you. Maybe
No!
just for you.
As far as something that Siegs did to me, we were talking about lists and stuff, and we going into New Orleans, which, if you recall, I lost a game, and it was wait a second, who did I lose to?
I don't know, some jerk. No,
it wasn't
no.
Thousand Suns.
I mean, imagine losing to 1,000 Suns, but yeah.
The Thousand Suns players are mad at you.
I'm sure they are. I'm not. See, they should take it as a compliment, right? If they're doing well with a bad army, that means they're good. They're the good ones. They're the good players.
But when Siegs was talking about showing up his Metallica list, and I was like, I got plays against that. I can do things. And then I walk into the room, and not only did he steal my Chronos, and didn't let me have it, but also you were sitting with the cheesiest grin in your face, basically doing the Vanna White display of your planes on your display board. And I was like, no!
Look at these gorgeous planes. Don't you love playing against them, Brad? But
yeah, I was super excited.
I think this tones AdMech down such that one of the biggest things about AdMech was not only do they have good rules, but they had more stuff than you.
Yes.
Now they really don't have as much stuff.
But they still have great rules.
They still have great rules.
They're still S tier in my brain.
They still have very powerful stuff. I think if Orcs didn't get hit, it would have been a huge death blow to AdMech.
Yes.
Because that matchup is one of their toughest. And because Orcs will just have less indirect, I think you can actually run the Metallic list now. Because it doesn't really care about the planes.
Yeah, the main problem is if you ran into like 6 squig buggies, which is physically impossible now.
Yeah.
If you ran into like 6 squig buggies and you took a lot of Rust Stalkers and Infiltrators, you're going to lose a lot of Rust Stalkers and Infiltrators.
Yeah, I played against Marks 8 of them, and I just lost too much.
Yeah.
I got a question for us, guys. What from Brad Chester, longtime listener, first time caller. Let's who's the biggest winner in this? Because I think my pick on this, I think Sisters gained the most from this because they took out their terrible match, which was Orc. And made it so they can play again.
It's Tyranids, because Tyranids is actually an even worse matchup for Sisters. Tyranids is, I don't know how Sisters beat Tyranids.
I can see that.
I just don't understand how they could do it.
I
think if you put John against himself on both armies, he would never lose with the Tyranid list.
I don't know if that's true. He can do a lot of damage. I think that
he gets to start all the trades wherever he wants, and he has the indirect to force you to do stuff.
He is trading with 200-point units.
I think Tyranids are the big winner.
Tyranids are a big winner for sure.
We have a super chat on this one. Praise the Emperor. Where do you guys see Sisters now? Clown mode, buddy.
A lot better. So the main issue there is I think that the seas have just parted in front of Grey Knights, and Grey Knights are just striding to the top of the meta at the moment, and Grey Knights ruin Sisters hard. So that's kind of bad for Sisters. But overall, yeah, they're less interactive
I still
matches.
think they have play. I really think the Sisters have plays into GK.
I think
I've seen the game a couple times. It's not great.
You need to go heavier on the Meltas, which does not help against Tyranids.
Yes. Yeah.
Or
so they're running into both Tyranids and Grey Knights, which I wouldn't say is great. It's certainly better than Orcs. I mean, that nonsense was just why even play the game.
I mean, the Orcs was unwinnable almost, basically. I'm just saying that there's total plays. I feel like there's plays. Maybe they're not favored, but I think Sisters have tons of plays into GK because they still can do the trade game. But the bug problem is the bug problem. The bug problem is a bug problem.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that bugs are an old book, which means a lot of their stuff is expensive. So even if they do trade, they're trading 200-point units. This isn't like Drukhari, where they're trading an 85-point unit for a 200-point unit. Like they're running 30 Devil Gaunts at you, and that's 210 points. So there is an inherent balance to that. Now they do hit insanely hard.
Triple super chat, fellas, if you guys want to grab those.
Oh boy.
Got a $5 super chat from Mr. Matt. Oh, thank you, Matt. Last question, do you think this means that there are more factions that can really compete for a major, or Grey Knights bugs just the new top dogs? I don't think there's that far above a lot of factions. I think you still do have play. Grey Knights is still a skill cap army. Like
it definitely
you
is.
can make mistakes because you don't have that many units, and if you trade poorly for a turn or two, you actually just put yourself in a really difficult position. They have great secondaries, and bugs are also a high skill cap army.
They are.
It's about your decision making.
You can lose a 200-point unit because you peeked one dude out of turn.
What they nerfed was the list that it doesn't matter who shows up with them. If they just roll their dice at you, go first, and cripple you, it doesn't matter how good of a player you are. The Orc list and the AdMech 6 flyers.
Yes.
Those two are gone, so I think that just helps everybody because there's I just auto-lose going second.
So many people have an option now. I literally think that there's so much more room for viable GT winning factions now. I think that it's not wide open. There's certain factions that are better, you know what I mean? But no one's so much better that you can't win. You can literally go there with the best army you can take from your faction. Most factions now has a great chance at winning a GT. Yes. That's my opinion on that.
And they removed, as Sieg said, they just removed all of the just dumb armies that will it doesn't matter how good you are, it doesn't matter how bad they are,
To put it another way, they raised the skill floor of the meta overall. Like, if you're winning tournaments, you need to bring something that actually requires a little bit of brain power here. Yeah,
and it lets you take an army that you personally are good with and do well with it, whereas before you could take an army you're personally good with, and then you run into an Orc player who's just picking his nose, and he'll just kill you.
Grey Knights might be easy to pilot to 4-1, but they're not easy to get 6-0 or 8-0
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
$5 super chat from Mr. Jason. Are 18 Hive Guard too many? John Lennon prefers 6. Alex McDougall prefers 11, I believe. So between the two of them, those are the two guys I trust on Ninja rules. They're not running 3. 3 seems excessive.
I think you still have to worry about some dummy rolling up to a table with 18 of them, especially on GW terrain where you can hide 18 of them. So you still have to worry about that, but no, I don't think 18 Hive Guard is the way.
If you bring 18, it doesn't leave you a ton to play the rest of the game with. I haven't talked. I've been
Oh boy.
for both of them, and basically you have to. That's a lot of points to take 2 Hive Guard and 2 Gene Stealers, plus the assorted overpriced characters that go with making those work. So I don't know. I mean, it's that army's terrifying though, especially on Dawn of War. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's whew.
Yeah, you can take 18 Hive Guard, 3 squads of 3 warriors, and if you take them in, I believe it's Behemoth, they're all hitting on 2s, reroll 1s. And that is scary. That's scary is what that is.
Leviathan, I think you're talking.
Leviathan.
No,
Leviathan Chronos combo?
No, I think it's Behemoth, where if you stand still, you roll 1 stat.
Oh, the rerolls. Yeah. That's Chronos.
It's Chronos? Okay. I don't know bugs.
It doesn't matter. You're not going to get any of the Leviathan buffs.
I was like, I don't know anything about Behemoth, but I know I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But our army is painted as High Fleet Behemoth.
And let's go with the super chat that goes with that. Do you think Tyranids will be the top 3 after this?
If John Lennon's playing them, yes. If other people are playing them, probably not.
Yeah.
But I think they'll be like top. They're definitely like top 6.
I think they were like 5th before. They're inherently held back by how fragile and how expensive they are, which is a good thing because it means they can't just do, Dark Eldar 2.0, where they just have the fastest units on the board and they just trade into you and control the board obnoxiously well. They have to actually plan their game plan from turn 1, because if they trade away too fast, they just are left with nothing. So you have to play well in order to do well with Tyranids.
Go ahead, Brad.
Nope, I was just gonna say, just to upset you and to go with Jack and I, Tyranids feel like a fighter that literally has no cardio and tons of power. It literally throws bombs, and then after the first round goes, "You're still there."
I hadn't planned on this at all. It's literally McGregor.
That's how it feels with the Tyranids right now. They hit so hard, but they really don't have the ability to play the long game unless you're just trying to ping away at Hive Guard for the whole game. But you still have to have something that goes and takes objectives.
If you try and table somebody and you miss, then you're just out of stuff immediately.
They're an army that requires command point discipline because a lot of their power is locked in stratagems, double shooting Hive Guard, the exploding attacks on Gene Stealers. If you don't have CP discipline, the army's power dramatically drops.
That's true.
So I think it's still going to be high skill cap.
And I think Tyranids have a problem with Grey Knights. Potentially not on GW terrain. Potentially not on GW terrain, but on other terrain, Grey Knights just find angles, and then all of a sudden that's half of a squad of Devil Gaunts that's just gone. And that's, that is a real problem.
We got Mr. Carry K with a $5 super chat. Guys, are Scorpec Lords with Veil and My Will Be Done a thing now? Shooting Scorpec destroyers across the board. I'm happy for the Necrons. I think if they get points drops alongside this and chapter approved, Necrons will be, actually quite strong. I don't think this is enough, just because the other armies have gotten seriously powerful rules. Like the Tyranids update alone, that puts Tyranids well ahead of Necrons in my opinion. And Space Marines are still better than them, along with all the other top A and S tier armies. So I don't think this bumps Necrons up against the non-Codex armies that they were battling against, but I don't think it's really helping them compete against the best books, in my opinion.
It lets you do cool
Not
stuff,
yet.
though.
If they get good points dropped, it'll help.
I think there's going to be some combos there, Sixes. We haven't looked at every single core combo and everything else. I'm just saying that they're better. How about that?
He sat there like he was Doctor Strange, going through all the different.
The book is right next to my bed. I look through every single rule that interacts with core. None of them are on the scale where like this is earth shattering. It's good. It makes destroyers better, especially Scorpex. I like Scorpex even more now, but it doesn't make them. I just have better stuff than you. They're still just overcosted.
I will say if I run into somebody they're playing like 9 Scorpex destroyers, I don't care. Like I don't care if they are +1 to hit or something. Like that feels totally manageable. So I agree with that.
If they had really good core buffs, then sure, but they just don't. Their rules are 8th edition-esque.
I mean, they still need to be buffed hardcore. But this does make them at least better. How about that?
But -1 to wound
For
is just
sure.
a great strat to have access to. That's why I really like the Scorpex, and the Lord is quite good as well. But hopefully they drop in points, please. All right. Let's final wrap up thoughts. Mr. Brad, you can go first.
I think that the nerfs were delightful. The buffs were okay. I think the knight buff is probably the biggest of buffs. The biggest thing that got buffed was knights. The AdMech and Drukhari nerfs were probably where they always should have been. And the plane is, I told you guys, I prayed to the dark gods so much, and they finally gave me the planes. The planes, only 2 planes. Thank you, baby machine god, whatever god I had to pray to, Slanesh. It's a weird Friday night. You never know what could happen.
Did you nerf planes? Yes. What did it cost? 300 points of my Drukhari.
Everything. But I think that they're perfect. I really think they did a great job on these point adjustments, because I still feel like, for instance, Drukhari, I feel that the army's still totally viable. It just means you have list building challenges that you didn't have before. Not a big deal, because of the fact that I don't have to deal with flyer and buggy spam. It means that I now have to play the game against other people, and I'm completely fine with a meta where I feel like my decisions as a general of my army make a huge difference, as opposed to saying I can see everything, I don't care what terrain or where you deployed or anything else is.
Yep.
Jack, what do you think?
Very happy. Honestly, I have no problems with anything in this balanced data slate. Planes needed to have... The game was becoming dangerously non-interactive. There was a ton of ignores line of sight. There was a bunch of armies that would just go first with planes and table you. And the game was getting not fun. Like, to be honest with you, it was getting to the point where I don't really know if I want to go to a tournament, to be honest, because I'm going to run into an orc guy who is, eating crayons and tabling me. and I just don't want to do that. And the game it just feels like it's a breath of fresh air. Like, all of the strategies that are just non-interactive got toned down. Thank God. Thank God. I'm enjoying, I look at this and I go, I am excited about 40K again.
Yeah. The biggest change for me is their commitment to be doing quarterly updates. The fact that we're not going to have to wait for 6 to 8 months for anything to be dealt with if it's broken, or even just when something like the Succubus combo with Competitive Edge, when it originally came out, it still took like a month or a month and a half to deal with that. We're actually going to get quarterly updates, and we have chapter approved in between there. There's going to be regular updates, which means they're going to have to pay attention to the game, and they're going to have to keep tabs on it, which is just better for everybody.
Yes.
So I'm a huge fan. I love that they're going to be continuing to work on match play updates, and hopefully, I think the game, it gets better with this. I think chapter prove should help. This doesn't really help those weaker factions. At the end of the day, it doesn't do enough for weaker factions, but hopefully chapter prove will.
Right.
But it pushes some time. But the thing is the weaker factions do at least benefit from the highest factions being brought down in line with everybody else. So you at least get a better chance to play.
I think if you're in middle of B up, they can all play against each other, and it's still not the end of the world. But I think some of the factions below that really just struggle.
I think a big part of
They
this
need big help.
is a commitment not only to do balance updates quarterly, which is nice, but a commitment, it seems, to make worse armies better, to fix worse armies.
Which they haven't done a lot of. So.
No, they tend to like to nerf, and then past that, just leave them alone. So it is great to see that they're looking at Imperial Knights, they're looking at Astra Militarum, they're looking at Necrons, and finally silencing that chorus of people just yelling for core. It is very nice that they are doing this to the game, and it means if there is a problem in the future where a codex comes out that's broken, we don't have to just live in Drukhari summer for 6 months.
Yeah. And in the mystery of, are they even going to do anything in the first place?
Yeah, where we're just looking at a clearly broken, clearly overpowered army, and we're just that's going to be our next 4 months. There is nothing we can do about it. We all know the game is broken right now, and it's not getting any better. And now, we're going, well, it's 2 months to the next quarterly update. There's only going to be another, one super major we're going to in that time period. I can live with it.
Yep. So, overall, I think a lot of positivity from the chat, from us. This is great. Yeah. So can't wait to see more of it. Can't wait for chapter approved. this is a big stepping stone for Games Workshop.
Big.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We got a lot of amazing content coming up this week. Obviously, we might look at some of the content and switch it based on this FAQ. But over the coming weeks, we are for sure going to put most of these factions on the table and see how these new rules play out.
I'd be really interested to see what you come up with Necrons, if somebody forces you to do it. And I'd be really interested to see how Knights play against the tippity top armies now, given that everything is so much harder to get off objectives. I'd be very interested in that.
And we did a tier list last week with all the factions, and we might as well do another one soon. So maybe over the next week or two, as we start getting these changes in, we'll probably do another faction update, because I think it has changed.
It has changed quite considerably. I want to give it, as you said, a week or so we can actually figure it out. Because right now there's a lot of guessing as to where things are.
Yeah, put it on the table.
I felt pretty comfortable knowing where a lot of armies were before this update. Now this update, I'm like, well, it's somewhere in that area, and now I just don't know.
Any final words, Brad, before you sign off?
I'm excited. I'm excited for the future, guys. I thought that, as everybody that's seen any of my Meta Mondays with it can tell you, I was getting a little down in the dumps with where we are, and felt it was not great for everybody. I think this is going to bring more people in, and I think the thing that's going to bring more people in is not just the fact that we've taken the ridiculousness of the top down, but I think that them saying quarterly changes is such a big deal, because even if they miss, they're changing it every quarter. You know what I'm saying? So we never have to live with anything that's ridiculous, and we also don't need to have ultra nerfs brought down. Mm-hmm. I think that in the past they've literally went, we're only going to nerf this once this year, so we need to make sure it's extra nerfed. Stay down. Bam. And they don't have to do that anymore, because they know that they're going to address it another quarter, and they're like, hey, Jack's winning too many games with Blood Angels. He's overpowered.
Far too many games.
It's just.
But is he going to beat John's Black Templars?
Let's be clear. I have only lost to Art of War guys playing S tier armies. That's it.
I'm just saying that if they think an army's
now they're not S tier anymore.
They don't have to nerf it into the ground. They need to. They can touch it, basically, and go, okay, we're going to do this again in 3 months. Not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? You can consistently tone down things and or realize maybe we toned it down a little too much. You're always touching things, and that's great. We have a living game now. As anybody that plays anything online, I'm assuming people play some games. I mean, literally the balanced teams for online games are balancing things every month, all the time. You know what I mean? Just consistently. You just have to. The game changes. We're getting new codexes in. Things are always changing all the time, and you have to adjust accordingly.
Yeah, having your rules semi-annually rules updates and your points updates being print was a real problem, because it meant that you would always be nerfing the meta from 6 months ago. And what would happen every single time is that there's something that's good, and then by the time Chapter Proofs comes out, that thing is no longer that great anymore, and there's something else that's really good, and they would take the thing that's no longer that great anymore, and they would just shoot it in the knee. And then
sometimes not the knee, sometimes all over the place.
Just gun it down. And that happened to Marines when Drukhari came out. Drukhari were broken. They were annihilating Marines left and right, and GW were like, here's chapter approved, everything goes up in Marines. And Marines just fell over. So this means they can do it in real time. It is vital to the actual competitive nature of the game that they're doing this. Mm-hmm. And I mean, as you can see, there is no lag on these rules. Every rule they came out with is current. It's relevant to the current meta right now, and that's not something we've had before.
Huge. I think that you hit it spot on, Jack, with that. The thing is that those, if they have to go to print, those are 6 months ago problems. You know what I mean? So it's so big to be constant on this. We had a couple of people talk about this as far as, does it nullify codices? And I don't think it does, because you still have, especially if you're an old man like myself that reads all the fluff from my codex, but you've still got your base rules and everything else, and then you just have your app. Hopefully the app, if it becomes fixed, come on, let's do this. But then you just have your add-ons. And the thing is that every game, we've just been, I don't know why, but people have been against it. Every game besides 40K consistently all the time updates. Doesn't matter if it's online or a tabletop game. But almost every popular game literally has constant updates, except for us. So
Yeah.
I am embracing it wholeheartedly.
What it shows is that for a while, if you've been playing 40K for a while, you know that Games Workshop is divided about whether this whole competitive thing is even a good idea. And sometimes they come out and then they seem like they're going to be fostering a competitive scene, and sometimes they seem like they're completely ignoring the competitive scene. And this just shows that they are actually taking us into account, and that is a big deal. And it's a very positive sign for where the game's going to go in the future. Very positive.
All right, well, I think that's a great thing to end it on. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. We're super excited. We're going to put out tons of content over the next couple weeks, working through these rules and their impact on the meta. So please join us for that. And until next time, we will see you. So long, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Dive even deeper into competitive 40K and become a member of the world's most knowledgeable and positive community.
The War Room is an exclusive group that brings together the world's best 40K players as coaches to help anyone from a newer player to an experienced tournament veteran learn, grow, and reach their goals within our shared hobby.
Each week we offer a variety of live stream coaching matches centered around illuminating the thought process of in-game decision making of top players. We explain everything we're doing and why.
You'll learn about the ever-evolving meta, match play mission theory, list making, and discussion of every faction in the game, and have access to analysis of all the latest rules. Our team of highly experienced coaches teach weekly clinics on each individual faction, strategy sessions on deployment and cool tricks, and meta-analyses each week during Meta Monday.
We are committed to not only providing the best knowledge for players available, but also building a one-of-a-kind community.
Come be a part of the War Room.